Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to PWR today for Friday morning. It's March 26th, 2021. I'm the man they call Meathead. Matthew, we're in the home stretch of March. The madness is happening, not the Macho Madness, but the March Madness is happening. And you know what's really going on here? I forgot to bring this up, but what level of Jumanji are we in? Are we still playing Jumanji? Are we on level 15 now?
Sounds about right. Yeah, I think that's fairly reasonable.
I mean, we just talked off air about how we can't keep track of days and weeks and, what time is it? And it's been a crazy, well over a year, because we weren't thinking about this in January of 2020 or February of 2020, but here we are 1 year since it was announced.
I want to go back. I think it was ESPN that did the podcast series on was it March the 11th of last year, and I remember I was in a restaurant the night that the NBA suspended their season, and just I remember the visual of just kind of the vibe, and it was an odd feeling in general because this stuff was serious, but I don't think people at that point could really grasp where things were headed, and that to me was my first real indication that, this is kind of some unprecedented stuff. And it sounds very trivial, when I mention it, but, when you had the news come across of the basketball games that were in progress, I think it was a Nuggets game that was on that the NBA had suspended its season.
Yeah, and they were thinking about moving to Butte, Montana, right?
Yeah, they were, but then they found a new home or their current home in the Ball Arena, which was not the Ball Arena when the season was suspended. I don't believe.
It's funny they're so close to Ball though. The Butte is, because they're close neighbors.
Yeah, that's the way.
Every time you bring that up,
works.
That story, it makes me think of the day that Magic Johnson announced that he had AIDS. Did I ever tell you, listeners? I don't know if you've ever heard this before. Stop me if you've heard it before. But did I tell you where I was the day I heard Magic Johnson had AIDS?
No, I don't think I've ever heard this story.
Standing amongst about 10 bucks, actually, in the airport while I was working, and the Bucks had just came through. All of them rushed into the bar area where I was at.
Oh wow!
And they said, "Can you put on the TV?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." Just kind of standing there next to Larry Stoviak, who was a whole Frank Winters. I think everybody was all over there, and that's when Magic Johnson. So I stood amongst them watching Magic Johnson announce that he had AIDS.
I was at my great aunt's, who was babysitting me at that time.
Of course, because you were 6.
Because no, that's about right. I think that would have been what, 92?
Maybe 91, 92.
Not 90. No, it would have been 91 because he was on the Dream Team in 92, right? So it would have had to have been 91, I think. So man, you're right. I think I would have been 6 on the dot. Man, you're just on top of things.
Let's get on top of our sponsors. And when you get on top of somebody with a ball throw, she's not going to want you up there anymore. Get on over to manscaped.com. Get that ball throw taken care of. Granted, it's not as lovely here in the Fox Valley. It snowed last night, Matthew telling us. It snowed an entire inch. It gave us an inch. That's what she said. But make sure that you get rid of an inch of ball hair with manscaped.com. PWR is the promo code. Save yourself 20% and shave off 100% of your ball throw with manscaped.com. And then Collar and Elbow brand. I love my clothing from Collar and Elbow brand. I know there's some great pictures of Linda Kay out there because she's going to be tonight ring announcing in Cedarburg for Great Lakes Championship Wrestling, wearing her Collar and Elbow brand gear. PWR 360, the promo code. Get on over to collarandelbowbrand.com. I know the Fanny Pack Kid's got something going on this weekend, too. He might lose his fanny pack. I know there's a big match going on down in Louisville at OVW Wrestling.
That's some pretty big stakes right there to put the fanny pack on the line. Now,
what's in it for gimmick on the line?
What's in it for him, though? Like, if the other person wins, they get his fanny pack. It's got to be something in it for him. Like, you can't just bet. You can't just have a one-sided bet like that.
Right. Did you see the last fanny pack that he was wearing? It literally turned into a hooded sweatshirt.
Oh, my goodness. Technology. What are they going to think of next?
No idea, but it was weird when he was wearing a sweatshirt. The fanny pack part now was on his chest. But it was kind of cool that, he unfolded his fanny pack and it turned into a sweatshirt. So All right, let's. We got a little bit of news here. Let's talk about Impact Wrestling. We've been talking about WWE's NXT potentially moving after WrestleMania from Wednesday nights to Tuesday nights. Impact ain't playing that game. They're already hearing that the big dog's coming over to Tuesday nights and don't want competition. They're going to go over to Thursdays. Matthew, what are your thoughts of Impact returning to the night that they were most successful on Thursday night?
I think it makes sense, and then it just gives, even not looking at it with ratings or not looking at it how many eyes they're going to have on something, it gives viewers who want to try to watch everything, makes that a more reasonable possibility. So I think hopefully it'll be successful for them, and hopefully in the not too distant future, you'll actually be able to start doing some tapings and see Impact emanate from a place with a crowd.
Here's the funny thing that I think about. It's WWE is going to do what they're going to do. I mean, we've joked about them, counter programming against AEW Dynamite, but they'll tell you that they don't. They'll tell you that they put out their product and that's what they work on, right? They've been counter programming to Dynamite, and that's why they're moving away from Tuesdays or from Wednesdays, to Tuesday. Impact wasn't even going to wait for the announcement. They want nothing to do in any competition. And they went running to Thursday. Impact Wrestling is the company, remember, that moved to Monday nights in 2010 because they wanted to try to go head-to-head with Monday Night Raw. How did that work out for them?
Not very well at all. It was fun as a fan for a while, though, I will say that much.
I don't understand why companies would want to cause that friction and go head-to-head on the same night and fight for the viewership. I don't get that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you caught lightning in a bottle. It worked for WCW. And I think ever since then, the Monday Night Wars left a very warm spot in a lot of people's hearts. And whenever a company that's not WWE, which I'll give Dynamite credit, they have not played that game. But, what Impact did back
and to be honest, Dynamite had announced Wednesdays before NXT announced Wednesday nights on USA.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was a complete – because NXT was a network show at that point.
They were just a WWE network show.
NXT went to USA, counter-programmed them, and I really think that was NXT trying to take AEW out of the knees, or at the very least say, hey, this is equivalent to our developmental system, our developmental program. You need to view it in the context of, okay, this is competition for NXT. This is not competition for the main roster. And I think the ratings to this point will tell you otherwise.
Let's talk AEW and NXT from Wednesday night. The ratings are in, and AEW is the number 6 show in the top 150 shows on cable. Number 6, not just the number 6 wrestling show. The number 6 cable show, and they are winning the 18 to 49 viewership area. They're killing it. To be completely honest, it's not the 90s. It's not Monday Night Wars. It's not 4.0s and 5.0s and what have you back in the day. There's way too much content out there. Way too much other stuff pulling from TV's network numbers. These are numbers that advertisers can get behind. AEW is making TNT buku bucks. What do you think, Matthew?
No, absolutely. And it's, like we've talked about before, even the weeks where AEW has been a little bit hit or miss, and I think we've been very honest on this program each week of what we think about the product. And if you go back and you look over the last 8 weeks or so, there's a lot of weeks in there where I think the consensus between you and I was AEW was losing some ground and NXT was producing consistent shows. That being said, what I find myself doing on a weekly basis is AEW is my priority. That's what I'm watching as close to live as I can. That's what I'm watching in its entirety, and being a little bit more, picking here and there with what I'm seeing NXT wise. AEW to me, it still feels like that must-see TV. It's still got that sense of, okay, I'm not sure what's going to happen here. I'm not sure what direction they're going to go in. NXT, while it is solid, it's a solid product and it's, consistent week to week. I don't feel that air of just unpredictability. and okay, let's, see what direction AEW is going to take us this week. I've still got that. Feeling of just spontaneity with AEW, and I think that's why my eyes always go there first.
One more demo I want to talk about. Male viewers, 18 to 49. AEW a 0.4, NXT a 0.1.
Yeah.
That key demo is AEW's killing that demo. So I think most of us are in the same way. We're watching AEW first right now, and we're catching up on NXT. We're watching both. Let's be completely clear, not just because we're broadcast journalists, but we're watching both because we want to see what's happening on both. But AEW is getting a live action first. Back in the day when you do picture-in-picture, you had to choose one for sound and one not for sound. AEW gets a sound.
And I think the real test is going to be once crowds are welcome back. What's going to be so interesting is AEW had a very short touring run, from their first Dynamite.
And all they were doing was live TV tapings and pay-per-views.
Yeah, October of 19 to, I saw the next to last show here in Denver in early March last year. So you've got basically 6 months of that. Where are they at as far as what buildings they can fill once crowds and touring resumes? Because here's the thing. I think they have, further expanded upon their brand, further expanded upon the people who will turn out to see them. And you've got to look at what anything touring-wise is like once things get to a normal basis. You've got concert tours now that have been postponed for 2 years. There's going to be that desire. There's going to be that thirst for people to get back and go to things in public. And I think it's going to be inflated to a certain extent, but inflated or not, I think the size of a building that AEW can fill on a consistent basis, not talking about, filling up an arena for a pay-per-view. I think what they can fill for a weekly Dynamite is going to surprise a lot of people.
It also surprises people when we talk about what WWE was filling for a weekly Raw or a SmackDown, because, while we're, they light it, they produce it better than anybody else.
Yeah.
They were still only doing 9,000-10,000 maybe. They weren't selling these buildings out in the last 5-10 years.
Yeah.
So, AEW may be able to do 5,000 to 10,000. Now, granted, I think they're still going to do less than WWE, and they'll, set up the arena the way it's supposed to look. But I think AEW would be better set to, because for TV-wise, you can't really tell the difference between a 20,000 seat building and a 10,000 seat building, right?
Right.
You can tell the difference between 10,000 and 50,000, but they should run the smaller 10,000 seat building and then make it look full and turn all the lights on and show everybody what's going on there. Don't run the 20,000 seat building, because one, it's going to cost you more, and two, you're going to have to tarp off half of it.
Yeah. No, you got to look at it. You've got to make it make sense financially. But you've got to pay attention to that perception, and how that thing looks on TV, is a big part of that product.
Yeah. A packed house in a little bit smaller building is louder, looks better. And again, the noise just gets people amped and excited. It kind of feeds on itself. So I think AEW's really got a shot here.
I want to say
WrestleMania,
something AEW has done right in its first year, with the TVs, is touring. They did not fall into the Impact pattern of having a residency somewhere. And I think for so long that, and I get it made business sense, but what hurt TNA and what hurt that product for years was the fact that you're at Universal each week with the same crowd, with the same people that you have seen front row or on the rail for years. Right. And that just, it made it a destination thing, but you got people that are coming in there for the AC after riding, rides in the park all day with Thing One.
That's how I ended up there. It was hot outside, man.
With the Thing One and Thing Two shirts that they bought at Universal, that just watered down the visual product so much. And I think there's
don't think of us as hypocrites as well, Matthew, because AEW and WWE have been in the same damn location too. This is different. This is COVID era.
Yeah. And I'm talking about once you get a crowd there, because I think that as much as people tune in on a weekly basis for for storyline progression in wrestling. There's some novelty of seeing what city they're in, what the crowd's like, if the crowd's hot, seeing different people week to week. And I do give AEW credit for not doing a residency, in their first year, actually going on the road. And I think that if you really want to be that competing second promotion, that needs to happen.
Absolutely. Let's talk real quick about the Hall of Fame. We mentioned yesterday that Kane, it's got to be Kane, is going to be joining the Hall of Fame. Don't forget that the Hall of Fame ceremony this year in 2021 on Tuesday, April 6th, is going to include the 2020 class and the 2021 class. So we've got Kane, Molly Holly, Eric Bischoff, and the Great Khali rumored to be RVD as well for 2021. Don't forget about 2020 featuring the NWO, the Bella Twins, JBL, British Bulldog, and Jushin Thunder Liger. The reason I bring this up is the Bella Twins, there is talk they may wrestle later this year.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that. And it's funny because the thought entered my mind last night. I'm like, wait a minute, who was in it last year? So yeah, they're going to have a packed show, and it's going to be interesting just to see what it looks like. I don't know. Have you heard anything as far
as so far?
Where
it's going to be probably a studio show.
Yeah, which can be really fun.
But here's the thing with the Bella Twins, and the reason I bring this up, there is talk they want to go for the women's tag team championships. I think the Bellas were ahead of their times as far as being a women's tag team. I think that is a good place for them to be.
No, absolutely. And the Bellas as a tag team, you've really got to go to their entry level, their entry into the WWE with Twin Magic and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the Bellas run, they were known as the Bella Twins, but it wasn't in the.
They were valets.
Of an active tag team division. So no, and I think they've been away for long enough that there's, that could really, because I look at the women's division now and I look at the Bellas and I feel like it's two different eras, and it hasn't been that long ago, but I feel like that was really the tail end of that Divas era.
And they were at the beginning of their careers were ending as the women's revolution was beginning at the end of the Divas era.
Yeah. And I'm really intrigued by the Bellas in 2021.
Okay. Let's talk about SmackDown tonight real quick before we go. We're coming off Fastlane. It's now official. It is Roman Reigns. It is Edge. But do they get Daniel Bryan in that match?
Yeah. I don't know. And we talked about it. We talked about, in the last few weeks, it's like, all right, Daniel Bryan's got some places to go. Roman, not so much, but they really they've not been booking a secondary story for Daniel. And you've got,
his story is the championship.
Yeah. And I would say, no, he's done. He's going to something else, but you've got him making Reigns tap. And I mean, that is, of course, that's that potential seed to get him into that match. So I really don't know. There is a big part of me that would like to see it stay Roman and Edge, just because I feel like that's more of a spotlight on Edge's return. You've got Edge in the title match at WrestleMania. You've got him, wrestling somebody who there's a similarity there in the style as far as the spear is both utilized by both guys. You've kind of got a spear versus spear match. I feel like that's more focused on Edge. I feel like that is a better story. Oh my God,
if they had a triple threat match between Roman, Goldberg, and Edge.
Go ahead and throw Rhino in there too.
Oh, that's a gore. And, they all start at the four corners and then just head to the center of the ring. Whoever gets gored first or speared first loses.
Have Shawn Spears ref it.
Oh my God. Yeah. And then have the chairman, Shawn Spears, and La Parka show up because, the chairman as well.
Yeah, that's exactly, I think that's where they're going for. Probably some inner promotional stuff that might transpire tonight.
I believe La Parka passed, actually. I'm not 100% sure, but
I need to research that. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, I believe La Parka's passed away. Did La Parka die? Passed away January 12th, 2020.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, La Parka passed last year. So, We also got stuff with Big E and Apollo Cruz. Not official, not announced yet, but this will be an IC match at WrestleMania. Matthew, where are we going with this? Is Apollo getting the belt back now with his new character, new accent?
I don't think so, but I'm happy to see it go on for another match. I'm really liking what I'm seeing with Big E. It's a completely different character. And I like it in the fact that I think the fun Big E is still there and still accessible, but it's showing everyone that he can really turn it up when he needs to. And my goodness, Apollo Cruz is coming out really good in this too, I think. It was a bit of a surprise. Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise, but he is growing into this role very, very fashionably. And this is some of the best booking I've seen them do in a while as far as an intercontinental feud, because Big E's really coming into his own. And, you've got this reemergence of Apollo Cruz. This is probably the most impactful that he has been since he's been on the roster. So I think both guys are looking really good in this.
Absolutely. We've got more stuff going on with the tag team title situation, as well as you guys know with the PWR draft. The man they call Meathead has reacclaimed the Street Profits. I believe they're going to be in a WrestleMania tag match with Alpha Academy, the Mysterios, and possibly the Dirty Dogs in a four-way, four corners tag team match. So we've got business to handle tonight on SmackDown. That is for sure. Speaking of business, we handled business. That has been the PWR Today for the week. Matthew Thomas, hopefully it doesn't snow again in Colorado for the next few months. I know it's snowing here. It'll melt right away. We are getting into hot PWR Today action. We're about 2 weeks away, just over 2 weeks away from WrestleMania happening down in Tampa. And then once that happens, Matthew, that's the countdown. That's a 1 year countdown to us all convening in Dallas for WrestleMania 38.
Oh, my goodness.
Wait.
We got to... You know what? I think we start the countdown on the very first show after Mania. Every show we conclude with exactly how many more days there are to go.
Yeah, I think that's what we're doing. So for Matthew Thomas, I'm the man they call Meathead. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Have a good week. So long, everyone.